right, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the New Ridgeline podcast. I'm Devin Dunnigan, and here with me, as always, is Mr. Stephen Mott. How you doing, brother?
My mic messed up. Great, brother Jake. The drummer, fricka-dang you.
All righty, so we are back this week, and we're going to be diving into some Southern rock with 1984s or 83s 38 Special Tour de Force. And the reason I kind of said the two dates is because I've got conflicting dates here in my notes, which I'll talk about. And yeah, this is an episode in the making for a long time. We have planned to do this episode all the way back in the early days of DT, or Dunnigan Mott Music and Movie Podcast is what it was known as then. And we just never got around to reviewing it. And I had heard this album prior to preparing for this review, and I liked the album, and spoiler alert, I still do. So, I mean, we'll get more into the track by tracks and all. But yeah, I mean, a brief little bit of band history here before we dive into kind of the statistics and all. 38 Special was a band founded by Donnie Van Zant and Don Barnes, and of course Donnie Van Zant being the brother of Johnny and Ronnie Van Zant of Lynyrd Skynyrd. And the band started as a pretty much contemporary or pretty much a straightforward Southern rock band, and eventually their styles kind of morphed into more of a commercial rock sound, a more straightforward hard rock, kind of classic rock sounding band. And that was kind of pushed by one of their songwriting partners at the time, Jim Peterick of Survivor, even to the point that the song Rockin' Into the Night was actually a song written for Survivor, but ended up on an album of the namesake, Rockin' Into the Night. So yeah, I did not know much about this band going into this album, even to the point of me saying, is this really even a Southern rock band? But I kind of went back and I actually went forward in their discography past this album. And the first two albums are definitely more Southern rock in vein of Lynyrd Skynyrd. And I mean, originally the band started out with just Donnie Van Zant on lead vocals. I had listened to the second record preparing for this review, and it's a good record. And eventually after this record, I mean, you had some lineup changes here and there, resulting in a lineup change with the addition of a new singer / keyboard player in Max Carl, and the band kind of went even further into the kind of commercial rock sound. And this album's very much in that vein, even with it still hearkening back to the Southern rock roots and kind of keeping a more rock sound instead of the kind of pop sound those other albums would have. But I mean, I'll get into a little bit of the research here that I have written down, if that's even what you want to call it. I mean, I can find a whole lot about this record going into it. All I could find really was that they went into the studio because they had a successful album and they put it out there and it was still a success. But this is the band's sixth studio record, released in November 1983, but I also found that it was released in 1984. I put a question mark in my notes because I was not real sure, because I kept finding 1983 even down to one of the singles being released that year. And on Spotify and according to Steven on YouTube, it says 1984. So I don't exactly know, but I found on Wikipedia, which, I mean, that's not hard down fact, but I found November 1983. Recorded at Studio One, Doraville, Georgia. Released on the A&M record label. Produced by Don Barnes, Jeff Carlisi, and Rodney Mills. The length is 36:42 to 36:46. That's the length I got on Spotify, was 36:46. Two singles, which we'll get into here in just a minute, and this album went number 22 on the Billboard 200. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of the opening for the record here. I'll let Steven take it now with his kind of opening opinions and opening thoughts on this record, going into the track by tracks. So, tell me your opinion, brother.
Well, now my kind of openings into this record is that I didn't, I say this about every one, but I'm just gonna be honest on here. I really didn't know it, pretty much anything about 38 Special. And I still really don't. All I know is that Donnie Van Zant is involved. And obviously, you know, I know him from the brother of Ronnie and Johnny of Leonard Skinner. And also, that leads to a point of the album 91 Skinner, kind of, kind of has remnants of, kind of has the same, like, sort of guitar sound. Not kind of only some of the lead guitar playing sounds like it, and if I didn't know any better, I mean I know it's probably not, but I'd probably swear that Gary Rosington was playing on this record at a lot of points, you know, but I know he's probably not, but Devin is probably rolling his eyes heavily at me right now because I've made a lot of comments about Gary Rosington before and such, and he probably knew the Skinner comments were coming, as did about Molly Hatchet. Uh, and so before he gets too peed off, back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, and yeah, talking about you didn't know much about the band. I didn't know anything prior to this album except for the big radio singles. That's all I knew. And then hearing this record and diving into the discography, it gave me kind of a more well-rounded opinion of everything. So, yeah, let's get into the track listing here with the very first track on here, If I'd Been the One. So I love this overall riff throughout the song, a great pop rock song. Don Barnes is awesome on lead vocals and very, very 1980s, very melodic. And a video was made for this song, the very first single off the record. Great instrumentation and a great short and sweet guitar solo. So that's all I have to say with this song. I really, really enjoy it. So, Steven, take If I'd Been the One.
Now, I have actually been listening to this song for quite a little while. And I saw, like on YouTube, like the album cover and stuff, and it was off of an album called, Tour de Force. And I guess I'm saying that right. I really don't know, to be honest, or I don't know what it means. The album, but title and stuff, I don't know. I just don't know. That's all I can say. But anyway, so If I've Been the One, I've heard this one for a good little while, maybe like a year or two. I kind of discovered it just flipping through YouTube, mainly because of Hold On Loosely by 38 Special. That I've heard that song quite a bit, and another one that kind of I can't think of right now. To tell you the honest truth, but mainly it's that and Caught Up in You. That's what it was. Those two songs I listened to quite a bit, and then it kind of led me into this song, and it's like it's up there with that best of, in my opinion, of 38 Special, and this album has some classic sounding stuff, some really classic sounding stuff, and take that how you will, but I know what I mean by it, but I can't really explain it. But and by the way, just to make one more point, to be not too extensive, I really love the production on this record. And so, oh yeah, by the way, Devin, I think it would be better if, like you said, if you know like who's singing on which track, maybe to say it for each one, if you know. But anyway, back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so then we move to the next track, Back Where You Belong. So this is pretty much, in my opinion, Caught Up in You Part 2. Great song, great poppy chorus. The second single and a video was made for this song once again. A pretty cool solo. I couldn't really tell if it was guitar or keyboard, and then a guitar solo for sure came in afterward. And great vocals all across the board here. And this is Don Barnes. I said Don Barnes rules in my notes. And a great outro solo. So I'm really digging the guitar work so far on this album, and really, really good song. So Steve, take Back Where You Belong.
By the way, I'm looking right at this on here, and it says 19. Okay, it says released on 1984-01-01. So basically, that's just saying it was released on January 1st of '84, and I kind of doubt that, to be honest. That's probably not quite printed right. But anyway, I don't know. I'm just kidding. But yeah, Back Where You Belong is a very good song. Honestly, it would fit right in, like, on one of these, like classic rock stations or something, like 100.7 or, around here, or 96.1. It would fit right in with that stuff. It's just right up there. It's just that it's in that top tier range of that era, in my opinion, and it's just great. I love the production, and that's the highlight of this album for me as a whole. Is the production is just tremendous. But anyway, so back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so then we move to track number 3. So One Time for the Old Times, a southern rock song with a poppy edge. An awesome song. Sounds a bit like the Arista Records era of the Allman Brothers Band. Those couple of albums, Reach for the Sky and Brothers of the Road, which are 2 albums I really want to do in the future. But I digress from that topic. A video was once again made for this song. This was kind of sort of the third single. I believe it was more or less kind of a radio single instead of a commercial single, however you want to say or consider that. But a cool solo on the song. I love the keyboards, and this is Donnie Van Zant on lead vocals. And the whole thing you was talking about, the production and all, I'm going to leave my comments on that to the end of the show in my conclusion of the album. So, Steve, take One Time for the Old Times.
Well, I really like it. This is of the best of the album for sure. And I know it sounds kind of weird to say, but you're going to see why I say that when we get to the end. There's 9 tracks on the album, but listening to it all the way through, it doesn't really seem, it doesn't seem short at all, if that makes any sense. It's very well. If you look at the track listing, like, it's either 4 minutes or longer, or just a little bit below 4 minutes on every song. I think the shortest song on the album is like 3:46. Yeah, so that shows you, like, they kind of wanted to jam it out a little bit, and I like it. Kind of flesh the songs out, and this is another song that it went really well off on, because it didn't really seem too repetitive, and none of these songs on this album did. It wasn't too repetitive. It was just kind of, I like the way this album was arranged. I like that a good bit. And something about this, it just, I don't know, it just gives me kind of a little bit of a Skinner vibe or something. It's just very poppy. I don't know. It's a really good song, and like, this whole album is not really poppy, but this song kind of is. But anyway, back to you, Dave.
All right, and you was talking about kind of it jams it out. It kind of reminds me of the album you just put out, SAFBII. A lot of those songs, I kind of, you said something about that you kind of considered that to be, you kind of took a lot of influence from this album and kind of the production and some of the structure and stuff. And I can totally see that. And talking about that, it doesn't sound repetitive. I disagree. And you'll hear in some of the comments going forward that I think some of this stuff is kind of repetitive. But I mean, they had a big hit on their hands and they were trying to follow it up. And I totally understand it. So then we move to track number 4, See Me in Your Eyes. So a very bluesy opening riff, a great mid-tempo bluesy rock song. The chorus is very, very melodic and reminds me of Foreigner or the Joe Lynn Turner era of Rainbow. The 3 albums, Difficult to Cure, Straight Between the Eyes, and Been Out of Shape. And last but not least, a very cool solo. So once again, the guitar work to me is 100% on this record. And I'm not sure, I'm assuming that Don Barnes and Jeff Carlisi are doing kind of splitting it up. I'm not real sure though. But that was one thing I really couldn't find. I'm not sure who played. I know Jeff Carlisi is the lead player, at least I believe he is. I could be totally wrong, but I believe he is. That was a period of research I didn't do, or part of research I didn't do. But I mean, it seems like they're splitting it up because it seems like it's kind of a dual guitar deal here and there, which is, I mean, for a Southern rock band, that's pretty normal is to have the dual guitars and stuff like that. But yeah, I love this song. Great song. So Stephen, take See Me in Your Eyes.
This whole basically first half of this album is, well, I'll say first 4 songs of the album is kind of in the same spectrum in my mind. It's in the same universe. But a couple of songs coming up on the album aren't. But this particular song, See Me in Your Eyes, I mean, this album really flows really well. I mean, if that makes any sense, it flows together really well. And I can tell that, if I had to guess, that the same songwriters probably wrote every song. And if I had to take a wild shot in the dark guess, I mean, because it just flows so well. And that goes back to a thing I've talked about over and over. Like, no, I don't like outside songwriting. Devin has talked about that too. But he's kind of talked about it on an outside source of an episode, recorded a while back that is definitely not ever going to be released. But that's besides the point. And one time for the old times, this is a really, really good song, and I just love it. This is a great one, and the only thing is I don't like about it is the lead guitar playing, to disagree with Devin. It's just not quite there at times on this album. I like the guitar playing, all of it on If I've Been the One, and I Ought to Let Go. But the rest of it is a little bit subpar as far as the lead playing. It kind of sounds like they just kind of thrown it together. But anyway, so back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, and I will agree with you on the sequencing and everything. I think this album is sequenced to a T. I think the sequencing on this record is fantastic, and the guitar playing, I'll just say that it's very simplistic, and that's part of the reason I really like it. I mean, it's not a lot of shredding or anything like it. It's just the guitar playing is enough to fit the song, and to me, sometimes less is more. And in this case, that is the case. And you were talking about See Me in Your Eyes, right? Because you did say one time for the old times.
Yeah, I kind of jumped ahead.
It's fine. But there's the first of the night, people. So first time in a while I've said on the podcast. But then we go to track number 5, 20th Century Fox. So a great boogie rocker. And this reminds me in some ways of the song Rockin' Through the Night. And this is a duet between Donnie and Don Barnes, and the previous song was actually Don Barnes. I don't think I said that, but that's Don Barnes singing on the previous track. And this is probably my favorite song on the record overall, and a great, great solo on this song. So really enjoy this one. So Steve, take 20th Century Fox.
Well, this song sucks. I don't like it at all.
Oh my.
It's it's trying to be like kind of, let's say, sleazy.
Hot for teacher.
I'm not really sure that I'm not even 100% sure what sleazy even means, but what I think it means, this song is the definition of that. Uh, yeah, it does kind of not musically, but lyrically, yeah, put me in the mind of Hot for Teacher. And this song, I'll take it back from what I said before. This song does not fit this album. This is the only song that doesn't fit this album. The rest of it flows good, but this song could have been left off. It kind of seems like it's like way far out there in another universe. The production even sounds a little different just because it's a different style song, and it does kind of remind me of something Skinner, later on, way later on, Skinner, something they might do, but like 91 or Last Rebel ish, sort of. More, it sounds like this 20th Century Fox, like it sounds like it could literally fit right in on The Last Rebel by Leonard Skinner if it had that more rough production style like that album did. Uh, Honestly, the song would just fit perfectly, and it shouldn't have fit. It shouldn't have been on this album. It doesn't fit, and I would I would just like to just flush this one down the commode and see it out of existence. So I'm starting to trail off, but Devin, I'm going to be on my best behavior for this episode. But I said that before, but it didn't work out. But anyway, the new Ridgeline podcast, The Darkest Eye. So back to you, Devin.
All righty, and you keep kind of harkening back to Latter Day Skinner. Donnie Van Zant did write some with the latter day era of Skinner, so that kind of fits in there actually if you look at it. I mean, I don't know whether Donnie was involved musically or lyrically. I'm assuming lyrically. I said lyrical or whatever, but I'm assuming he was involved lyrically within the band. But yeah, track number 6 on here, Long Distance Affair. So I love the drum intro. Reminds me once again of Caught Up in You. And amazing song, very upbeat and poppy. Reminds me sort of the vibe Kiss Unmasked gives, with kind of this new wave-ish pop sound. And another great solo. And also kind of reminds me of 80s Rush, with kind of has a vibe of like Grace Under Pressure or Power Windows sort of. So yeah, there you go. I like the song once again. Great track, and I'm assuming this is the opening of side 2. I could be wrong. That was one other thing I didn't do research on, was the vinyl. I thought about it and just never did do it, but I'm assuming this opens side 2. I'm assuming it was split pretty well down the middle, as closest to the middle as you can get with 9 songs. So Steve, take Long Distance Affair.
It seemed like with the chorus that they they did a good job kind of trying to salvage the song itself. The chorus was good and it had that classic sound to it, but the rest of the song, it just seemed to kind of flatline, if that makes any sense. There wasn't a whole lot of melody to it. It was just kind of, I said the same thing about Hugh Straw. After the first couple of songs on that album, it kind of flatlined melodically, and this song does that same thing, except for the chorus. And I mean, I just think that it just wasn't a great song to begin with. It just wasn't a great idea, and all it is just like that typical power chord thing over and over. I mean, if you know, you know. I mean, it just sounds so typical. Like the verse just sounds so typical. It's just thrown together. The chorus is okay. That's all I can say. And I really didn't love it, to be honest. It kind of this is in my mind getting into the kind of second half worst part of the album, and I can sort of tell what kind of order that they wrote these songs in, and they probably had about, I'd say about 4 or 5 songs written already, and they said, well, we need to make an album out of this, and then they just kind of threw together another 4 and just said, well, we we just can't get another one, because it's only 9, so we'll just kind of jam them out individually and just kind of, you know, because that's just to fill up the space, because honestly that was my mindset with SAF and BII, as Devin has already brought up in this episode. I mean, yeah, the only reason I say that is because I can relate to that mindset, and I can kind of go through the motions and see what they were thinking, sort of. I mean, them going through the motions of it, because you have, if you have so many songs, only so many songs, you start going, well, are we going to write another one, or is this going to be it, or are we going to squeeze one more good little song out of it and then record it and be done, or we're going to just flush them out? And they decided to just crap out the next half of the album, get it over with, uh, and I can just tell it just sucks. I mean, with the exception of 1 or 2 songs, the last half of the album sucks. So back to you, Devin. That was quite long-winded.
All right, and you was talking about. Seems like to me you just feel like these songs are kind of the filler songs of the album in a lot of ways. Am I right?
Yes, that I could have simplified that statement, that a minute or two rant to that. Yeah. So thanks a lot, Devin. Frick you.
And this song was also sang by Don Barnes. So that brings us to track number 7. And speaking of a kind of a song that really doesn't fit, but I still do like it though, I Ought to Let Go. And this is a very poppy Southern rock song. Really good song, as I said just a second ago. Reminds me again of the Arista Records Allman Brothers albums. My second favorite on the record, though. I really do like this song. So continue your rant, Steve.
All right. All right. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'll just change headphones.
All right. I ought to let go. So I hope, I sincerely hope this is the song that we're on. So anyway, I actually love this song. This is a great song. Um, and this is like a classic example of kind of like taking the track and really giving something else with it beside. I think I don't know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is it's a really good guitar part, and they kind of put some off the wall stuff over it. And at first, when the intro first comes on, it sounds different, and like it sounds almost like bluesy or rockish or something, and then it comes in with this other part, and it's like kind of off the wall, but then it's actually really good. It's really good melody to it. This whole album, besides a couple, is very melodic as a whole, and
Even take I Ought to Let Go.
I coughed on that one too. Oh well, it don't matter. Anyway, yeah, I ought to let you go. It was a great track. Back to you. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I I just don't know. I mean, it was a great track. It fit right in with the first half of the album. It was probably in that batch of first part written songs, and I ain't got much else to say. I agree with Devin's analogy. It does sound a lot like the Rosington Collins band. Um, and I just, you know, I just don't know.
So then we move to the next track, One of the Lonely Ones. So a great song, reminds me once again of Caught Up in You, and reminds me a little bit of Blackfoot's Siogo album from '83. And the bridge reminds me of Kiss Unmasked, and if that's even what you want to call it, a bridge or whatever. And also another great solo. So, Steve, take One of the Lonely Ones.
This was not a great track. I'm not gonna lie to you, it pretty much sucked. It didn't even have a good chorus. I mean, it was just bad. I mean, I didn't even listen to this album. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh. Okay. Now this song sucks.
Alrighty, so then we move to track number 9, Undercover Lover. Great hard rocking closer. This is Donnie Van Zant once again. On the previous song, it was Don Barnes. You told me to say that, and I keep forgetting. The riff reminds me of Kiss's Not for the Innocent off of the 1983 album Lick It Up, which we reviewed on our very first episode of this podcast. And a great solo, and reminds me a bit of Blackfoot and Street Survivors era Skinner, as well as ZZ Top. So Stephen, take Undercover Lover.
It sucked. Back to you, Devin.
Alrighty, so that's the end of the record, and I'll go into my kind of overall conclusion on the album. So, overall, a great album, as you can tell by my opinions on the record. I love the production as well as the instrumentation on the album. I will say that some of the guitars and Donnie's vocals could have been higher in the mix. A very 80s production where the rhythm guitar and the drums are very, very high in the mix. And I also find it interesting that there is not a kind of straightforward ballad on this. So, yeah, I love the record. I give it an 8.5 out of 10 for kind of the things I didn't particularly like about the production above, or really it ain't the production, it was kind of the mixing. I think they should have mixed the vocals and the higher in the mix. Some of the like I said, the rhythm and the drums are very high, but when it comes to some of the lead parts, you can barely hear them. And I think it would very much kind of improve the record a little bit more, and probably bring my score up a little bit more if the lead guitars were a little bit higher in the mix. But the rhythm guitar you can hear perfectly well. And so this is kind of a perfect example of a band changing their sound and it actually working really, really well. So see you next time, guys.